guys, we're going to try something a little new today. We're going to break down the monthly report. Now, I know, obviously, look, normally Super Mac Brian will go and do this, and full credit to him, he does a fantastic job doing it. But I do have a bit of a coding background as well, so I might be able to give it a bit more of a different spin. So I'm going to sort of approach it from more like a sort of like technical point of view, and sort of like explain more why things are important. So obviously when he puts his up, please do go still support him and watch his videos. He does a fantastic job. But let's jump into it and let's talk, because we do have the PU monthly report for April 2023. Now, obviously, the first section that we do have is AI content. In April, the AI content team continues to refine behaviors, improve animations, and develop new features for the PU and Squadron 42. This involves further working on sleep and bed relaxation behaviors. Bed relaxation is like people playing on like Moby Glass or watching videos while they're in bed, which receives important animations. They also polish the various leisure animations that allow characters to watch TV and use the Moby Glass on a bunk bed, as I just said. Various AI blockout animations for janitor tasks were created, such as placing and using a mop and bucket. All content also made a significant progress on the janitor's workflow, with design and animation working closely together. The AI content added variations to the trolley artwork, moving away from the white box version. Further expansion was planned too. They're currently looking to prevent trolley popping and improve box placement in the hangar for more realistic and less robotic feel. So obviously the trolleys popping in and out was a big thing. I don't know if that's exactly AI tech though, but still. But yeah, obviously there's been times where you sort of see like the trolleys are bouncing around and stuff like that. So it looks like they're looking into that. So we have AI tech now. That was obviously content. Last month, AI tech progress with navigation and movement system features. They also completed tasks for navigation cost area modifier, which will mark specific areas for an increase or decrease the cost of paths to go through that area. So this is obviously pathfinding. So like, for example, it'll go through, and if this is what I think it is, the AI might look at a path and go, there's fire, that's dangerous, I'll take this path over to here. Or it might look at the terrain and go, that's a steep climb, this path over here to the left or to the right is easier, so I'll give that more of a weight, or a more favourable weight. This will influence which paths NPC or ground vehicles choose, like I was just saying, uphill, downhill, stuff like that. Alongside polishing and providing feedback on the feature, the way the entity tag is influence cost area was implemented. For example, the location with fire, as I've also just mentioned. By the way, I have not read the report at all, so I have no idea what they're saying. I just use those two as an example because that's normally the most common ones for AI tech. Will have a high cost for normal PCs to ensure they avoid it. Makes sense. However, the same area will have a low cost for NPCs wearing fire protection. Okay, so it's going to take a note of what suits and what armors that you have and then weight it in relation to that, which is kind of cool. Work also began on ground vehicle collision avoidance, which involves updating the system to support both vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-NPC avoidance. So, for example, the AI won't run over other AI that are on foot. This requires, although that would be funny, this requires identifying how agents are separated. Previously, they were separated by agent type, medium characters, large vehicles, etc. Now all agent types with different avoidance radius and rules are processed together to provide they're in the same navigation volume. Don't know what that means exactly. It sounds like they're just simply going through and sort of like grouping everybody in a group instead of doing them separately. Previously they were separated by agent type. So like, for example, you'd have like, infantry, then you'd have like vehicles and stuff like that. So it sounds like they're grouping them up so you can have like squads and stuff. AI tech updated behavior and tactical point system requests relating to transit. They also cleaned up the optimized transit in the movement system, which involves updating the pause movement functionality logic used when running navigation link logic. Now only pause the movement request at that moment, and further requests will be processed. So that is basically like, for example, when you see like NPCs will like stop and then do something else, and there's that sort of like break between them. Sounds like they're talking about that. On the AI tool size, improvements and optimizations were made to the usable coordinator. The team also extended the debug AI tools, most notably adding a visualizer for test tactical point system requests. And the AI vehicle feature. The vehicle feature team complete the new fighter control combat AI flow design and can now play against NPCs with a reasonable variety of behaviors. So I was in a stream with Starstreams a couple of days ago, and we got into a dogfight with what we believe was an NPC. For a start, wow, they have buffed them. Secondly, it was actually quite a good dogfight. It was really interesting. The AI was really on point. For example, making them more aggressive and cautious, which results in visual differences in NPC behavior. This will be the AI vehicle this will be the AI vehicle features focus over the coming months. So maybe they're talking about the vehicles having like cautious or aggressive is like depending on like the driver, for example. The driver might be more cautious or aggressive. Time was also spent improving ship spline flowing, which is obviously the movement of ships. This involves implementing new algorithms to calculate a ship's speed along the spline to prevent it from flying off. They also began experimenting with the procedurally generated spline feature, which enables ship to fly around reasonably detailed geometry without colliding with anything, which is obviously important. This will be useful for various features, including ship recall features mentioned in last month's report. That's the ability for us to recall and call our ships for, I believe it's mostly going to be Squadron 42, but Animation continues discussing creatures, creating a matrix showing the skeleton class they think they should exist and how the creatures could use them. So like for example with humans, obviously we know how the human skeletons work. Muscles, bones, stuff like that. This is simply them going through and like giving like creatures spines and bodies and how it would work and how it would cause movement and stuff like that. Obviously with analogs with like humans and stuff, it's easy. We can just obviously use real world examples. Birds and stuff, then obviously we can use real world examples. But like some sort of mythical creature, like some big bear like creature, then obviously they'll have to go through and find out how like bears move and how their bones and all that work. So it's just basically them going through and researching like spines and bone structure and stuff of animals and stuff, and how they can incorporate that into the game to the creatures they're making. Last month the character art team completed their Frontier Toxic and Desert Environmental Wear outfits. The Dusters Factions common outfit and the Frontier Light helmet. Alongside this, character concept art prepared handoff sheets for the Headhunter gangs and Dusters outfit and began exploring the upcoming subscriber item. Okay. So now we have ships art. Last month, the EU vehicle concept team completed the final art phase on all new vehicle. Okay, at the LOD0 art phase began on one of its variances. So they've completed the final art phase on all new vehicle. So that means they're still in white box or development stage. So we might see it as a concept ship if it's up for sale now, or later if it's up for straight to flyable. Another new ship passed the white box stage, this needing completion will move to the next procedure stage once its upcoming review is completed. That sounds like it might be going straight through to flyable, if they're already up to white box. The team wrapped up on the RSI Lynx rover, while another upcoming ground vehicle processed through the grey box stage. I believe we're going to get a grey box or a ground vehicle that's a salvage. The LOD passed the Argo, the law passed on the Argo SRV was completed. Relating to this, the support pass for tractor beams began, which includes retrofitting the new vehicle tractor beams onto existing support ships. So it'd be like the Caterpillar and stuff like that. This also involves ensuring that all valid components can be removed using the FPS tractor beam, which is cool. Because obviously now they're going through and they're just going to be simply adding to that feature. So any new ship that comes out now, they're going to make sure that the ships have the removable and components and stuff. This has been achieved by adjusting the art and collision on some component bays, as well as ensuring there's a clean path to remove components from the vehicle. I did notice that, for example, ships like the Caterpillar, there you can't remove any of the components from inside the Caterpillar. You can still remove the guns from the Cat, and you can remove the weapons, but the components themselves, I couldn't find anything that could actually be removed, which is kind of a bummer and shit because we need it for the machinima. Alright, where we get up to? Yep. A component bay pass continued on the MISC Freelancer, and I presume the Caterpillar will get its chance in a sec, sooner or later, which progressed to the LOD 0 and final art phase, and the Crusader A1 Sprite continued through the LOD 0 phase, passing the grey box review gate. Additionally, the C1 cargo variant entered the grey box stage. So they've done white box, they're up to grey box now. I would say we're probably going to see that probably 6 or 12 months. In the US, grey box on an upcoming vehicle was also completed. So it's like 4 new ships, including the vehicle, ground vehicle. We have redesigned the dashboard and the cockpit to allow for better visibility while driving in first-person view. We also did a short pass on optimization, as we found that it may have gone a bit overboard on the detail and needed to pull back a bit, especially in areas rarely seen by the player. So I'm not sure which one they're talking about there, but yeah. Grey box on the Santaku Yai. Processed, with several areas being redesigned and flashed out, including the rail system with the glass canopy. The team also created several limitations on iterations of the seat and settled on design that highlights Asapico's use of Xi'an anti-gravity tech. It's probably going to float. In addition, they processed the new dashboard to further push for the use of alien tech. So maybe that's what they're talking about here when they talk about the redesigning the dashboard. They're talking about the Santaku Yai. Yeah. The community team, so community support for the Alpha 3.18.1 and 2 release, as well as the recent Free Fly event. Preparations are in full swing for the upcoming Alien Week, which is obviously after Fleet Week, and work continued in the new player hub. The team is also working on numerous improvements for the community hub, which may have been highly requested, and more info will be shared soon. April also saw the kickoff of the year's Star Citizen World Tour. For the first time ever, members of the community team visited Phoenix, Arizona in the US, and followed up with this another visit to Paris, France. Further as well, supporting Star Citizen events in Manchester, UK with over 100 players and 80 CIG staff, several members of the team attended the community organised event. That was the Con24, which was really interesting actually. I'm thinking about breaking that down into sections, putting up videos into sections. The third iteration of this is incredible event brought together nearly 600 community members, as well as many from the CIG staff team, who answered some burning questions. Yeah, about that. and to dev panels. It was a privilege to attend such a fantastic event and meet so many of you in person. It's actually really, really interesting when you remove the constraints from what the teams can and can't say. Because of obviously like people hold their feet to the fire if they miss a deadline. When they were there as a sort of officially from CIG but sort of unofficially, they had a lot more freedom to talk about stuff, which I get. Lastly, the team has been entrenched in CitizenCon 2953. Planning with announcements and activities will be relayed soon. They're very excited to share what's in store for the epic return of this in-person celebration for Star Citizen, and most importantly, the community. Keep your eyes peeled on the upcoming days for more details. Engine. Besides support for the ongoing patch release, the core engine team ironed out tech development over the last few months, readying it up to integrate with the main development stream. This includes testing the new P4K format, which will speed up the game's startup. Cool. I believe the P4K is a format which is like a file format, which the game uses to load files, so that's probably why they're speeding up the game's startup. When QA is finished, the engine team will begin quality assurance. Will begin iterating it into the main development stream and enabling it for our other departments. So it sounds like something that might not necessarily have dividends in the small future, but further down the track, it seems like it's something where it's sort of like it's like Gen 12. Yeah, they can go through and put it in, but then they need to sort of wire it in and hook it in, and then any further development they need to sort of like link it into it and stuff like that. The new internal code build system, Star Build, is in its final stages of having Linux compatibility enabled. Afterward, the team will start to roll this out internally. For memory management, the engine team are continuing to develop an internal tool to better analyze memory usage and later reduce the memory usage of the game. Yeah, if they can find areas where it's causing memory leaks and stuff like that, that obviously helps with memory. For Gen 12 renderer, here's the important thing. The team portrayed the last remaining legacy rendered pass to the new API. Okay, so it's full Gen 12 now. This also began deleting the no longer needed legacy code, which is great because obviously that'll help with like game and stuff like that. You get rid of all the excess code, then obviously it doesn't have to worry about loading it or anything like that. Improvements to the stream system began too. First, the team simplified the logic to update the per instance stream data, which will leave less code to maintain. Additionally, they began moving more streaming logic away from the main thread to background workers. This affects the frame time less and stream objects much faster. So this affects the frame time less. Okay. Work is also done on the generic shape system, which the current focus of the edit will allow the designers to set up multiple sub-segments to improve the entity areas. Entities are like things like, for example, ships, Coke cans, components, anything that you can interact with. Current focus on the editor to allow the designers to set up multiple to improve the entity area. The significant code work was done to ensure constant and non-duplicate enter leave events are all sent in the cases. Sounds like that might be talking about duplicating items or items being duplicated. Significant code work was done to ensure constant and non-duplicated enter leave events. I think that is when it sort of hands it over to the other servers. It's removing the old system So, like for example, say you're flying around on your own server 1, right? This is sort of sounding like it might be doing with server meshing. So you're flying around on server 1, right? And you're in an address. Then you need to it migrates you to server 2 because you've just flown to ArcCorp, for example. It then needs to go through and make sure that it removes the address from server 1 in a sort of timely manner. And that's what it sounds like it's doing. It sounds like it's doing like asset cleanup once it's done the migration to server meshing for like new assets, which is cool. If that's what it sounds like, that's what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong, but let me know in chat or comments. The entity lifetime system was also updated to allow designers to specify areas with different rules. For example, adding aggressive cleanup to areas where gameplay is important. For example, space stations. Like hangars. Hangars. Various bug fixes and optimizations were completed too. This is actually sounds like the start of this is in the 3.19 build. We got a new asset management cleanup system in 3.19. So basically what this will do is, like for example, anywhere that's like a space station or a landing zone or anything like that, they're going to have more aggressive cleanup. But for example, say a cave or somewhere where you might there's not enough or there's not much traffic, and it doesn't necessarily matter if there's 100 Coke cans laying around on the ground, then they'll leave the cans there. But like in the hubs and stuff like that, it's more aggressive cleanup. The physics team added winch support to support rope systems. So that's like spelunking, caving and stuff like that, which allows them to switch between fixed and pulley attachments. So like winching and stuff. For Alpha 3.18 release and beyond, work went into managing the memory of the physics objects. This will allow them to then collect every allocation, core site, as well as utilize customized upper object limits, which will help to detect leaks. Additionally, that's presumably memory leaks and stuff like that. Additionally, the old error-prone manual ref counting was replaced with a targeted weak point approach, which is safer and more friendly to multi-thread coding. Geometry parts are now assigned to a unique ID, to enabling the query by name, and a side effect to put more requirements on debug names, which will make it more expressive and globally unique. Sounds like that's to do with like bug fixing and stuff like that. So it sounds like they're going through and itemizing the errors a lot better, so that they can track them down a lot easier. Additionally, the individual physics collision of the geometry gameplay parts can now be disabled. Improvements were also made to physicalize-based wheeled vehicles on how they handle contact with hard surfaces, for example ground. A new specialized AABB tree was introduced for the use of assigned distance fields. The AABB tree is not actually a plant. It's just a branch of the tree development. That's what they refer to there. Which favors fast tree generating speed at the cost of slow culling code. Are they talking about growing? Talking about like growing trees? Like trees actually growing there? Which favors a fast tree generating speed. Oh no! That's they're talking about the sign distance fielding and, for example, objects being streamed in at a faster rate. So it'll faster generation speed, which means our object will be able to make the objects faster, at the cost of a slow culling code. Lastly, various bug fixes and optimizations were also done. Features, Arena Commander. During April, the Arena Commander feature team focused on Alpha 3.18x release support and finalized planning for the rest of the quarter. The engine team supported the code rework for the VMA loadout customization menus, which is why it's busted at the moment. It's because they're fixing it or replacing it. And this enables it to work better alongside the new sporting technology introduced with the persistent energy streaming. Analytics work was also completed, including adding support for features coming later this year. Finally, for engineering, several new game modes and filters for the new Frontier were created to help players find the modes they want from the new game modes section window. Okay, there's new modes coming. Arena Commander Designs team finished two versions of the reworked Deadfoot Link track, which were significantly playtested. Maybe coming in 3.19, 3.20. So while one of these maps can become deadlifts after all the Roman and positive feedback, we've been releasing the other as a brand new 4th addition to the New Horizons Speedway collection. Okay. Sounds like we're getting 2 new tracks. Features, character weapons. In April, the feature team will begin adding EVA fuel to the actor loadout. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So that means that obviously in the future you won't be able to just constantly use your jump jets. You're going to have a limited amount of fuel, and obviously the big thing when it comes to this is hopefully is that your character will have momentum, because that way you won't need to worry about constantly like pushing and holding down. That's the big thing at the moment is that the characters seemingly have this artificial slowdown when flying around with EVA. So yeah, if we get like full quantum Newtonian physics sort of thing where it's sort of like, that'll be cool. And it's going to be needed too, because like I say, if we're going to have like a limited amount of jump jet fuel, then they're going to be able to make it so that yes, you're going to have a limited amount, but you'll have inertia. And that's the big thing. Players will use fuel as they accelerate or decelerate while free roaming in zero gravity. If fuel runs out, they can use their oxygen supply as a low-grade emergency supplement. That's pretty cool. In a game called... what was the name of the game? I forgot the name. Halion. In Halion, I used to go through and I used to use fire extinguishers. If the fuel runs out, they can use their oxygen supply as a low-grade emergency supplement to get them to safety. However, jumping from surface to surface using the new zero-G travel system will not use fuel, making it a viable option for players travelling without thrusters or they're low on fuel. Jumping from surface to surface. So that's inertia. Cool. Yeah. The multi-tool tractor beam can be used to navigate environments without gravity too. The team also worked on flak ammunition. This generates a single projectile that on explosion breaks into additional projectiles that fires in a random direction. Part of this included implementing of the option to add a proximity trigger to any projectile. Next time I play, I have to go through and test and make sure that we have inertia. I'm not sure if it's in 3.19 yet. Sounds like it's coming. Features, at the very least, coming anyway. Features, gameplay. Last month, the EU-based team progressed with the mining update and tractor beam attachment or detachment feature, which targeted for release in the Alpha 3.19, which is obviously what we've seen. For salvage, deployment of the munching feature began. Okay, cool. With the first prototype finished for internal iteration. Wow, okay. So they've already got the first iteration of munching. That's cool. We might see that for 3.20. Maybe 3.21. For the refinery, the first block out of the UI screen was created and the gameplay beats of the various refinery methods were discussed. The team now have a clear understanding of what the different deliverables will look like and how the actual gameplay will play and feel. I presume they're talking about refineries as in, like, for example, the stations. But also, I presume this is also going to work when it comes to like ship refinery as well. For example, like the ships that go through and have like inbuilt refineries. And so there'll be like Vulture, the Reclaimer, and then obviously your mining ships that do refineries as well. Yeah, your Odysseys and stuff like that. In the US, the design team implemented the whole of Invictus Launch Week. This was done using the new functionality for the UBSP team, which not only reduces the setup time but also eliminates the possibility of a single significant number of bugs historically encountered during the event startup. So it sounds like it's sort of like maybe it's sort of like using sort of tools to go through and set up the features and stuff for the halls. That'd be cool. So like, they can go through and say like, you know, yeah, we want this set dressing here, this set dressing there, sort of thing. In April, the team refactored on in-game ship prices and insurance expedient fees and times are calculated. And we've seen this in 3.19 with them expanding. The process is now automatically based on ship stats and characteristics and now will continue to evolve as the amount of data factored into the price calculations is increased. As a result of the redistributing mineable resources, the team completed their initial pass on refineries. This will change how efficient each location refinery specific orgs based on the abundance of materials within that region. Along with this, they're currently rebalancing the sell price of the refinery resources at the admin trade and dev division offices to account for this new distribution. These changes are currently in the PTU and will continue to the road. Okay. Finally, the engineers focused on the new cargo deck and external cargo loading game loop that will be used to supply ships as such as the Miss Cull C, as this is the first step in a sequence of planned updates to make cargo gameplay more physicalized and tangible. Fundamental concepts such as the cargo warehouse and a systematic buy or sell orders not only support the Hull C, but implement charges in manual cargo loading with hangars. So that's cool. New cargo decks and external cargo loading gameplay. So I presume there'll be like drones or like little forklifts, sort of like things that go out and that will load up the Hull C or load up your ship. So expect load times in the ships to soon be increasing. Feature. To avoid greater variety in in-mission ship combat, the mission feature team began adding all ships into the enemy spawn pool. Okay, we used a tool to pit all ships against one another 1,000 times to determine a difficulty progression. Cool. Work also continued on salvage missions, with attention given to missions where salvage is used to restore valuable ships for profit. Where salvage is used to restore valuable ships for profit. Cool. Development continued on the package extraction data heist, so that's hacking gameplay, and consignment retrieval mission. Various ships' interiors were also marked up ready for combat. Development continued on the package extraction data heist, so that's hacking gameplay, and consignment, and that's obviously that's doing that. Various ship interiors were also marked up for combat, so that means them adding maybe NPCs and stuff to more interior ships, so that you'll have more combat inside ships and stuff. That's cool. On the code side, many much needed fixes were added, while working on player defending their ship is almost complete and will soon begin testing. Okay, so talking about like boarding and breaching and stuff. Graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. Last month, the graphics team worked on towards enhancing the game's realism function and developer workflow with the range of long-awaited features and updates. For example, streaming logically compiled skin meshing meshes is now possible for allowing for a much quicker load and replication of the release build. This editor also has a new HUD feature that indicates when resources are being compiled. Water volume fine-tuning began for use on planets, specifically with atmospheric and fog volumes. These integrations are part of the O2, I think it's supposed to be O2 water deliverables, which also includes water ripple simulations and bodies of water, even down to puddles. Okay. As a series of performance and capability improvements were made to the core renderer, this includes the removal of some legacy CPU to GPU buffer management synchronization, which could on occasion cause hangs in NVIDIA drivers. The team also began moving volumetric fog and gas clouds to Vulkan. Sweet. They're currently looking to enable the feature following the essential compatibility, functionality, and visual quality fixes. I will say 319 gas clouds and just general clouds themselves look fantastic. The UI tech and graphics team made considerable progress on the interior map feature. Last month, the map's core visual features were completed, with the current focus on performance improvements and polycount optimization. A temporal super resolution prototype was integrated too, paving the way for improved resolutions and clarities across the entire game. For ongoing development of Fire Tech, cool. A new shard resource manager now effectively manages 3D texture data across multiple fire emitters associated with a single Voltec grid. As a part of this, the Voltec grid receives several important bug fixes, including an out-of-bounds issue caused by discrepancies between the iteration code and the primary code. This fix ensures the accurate and constant rendering of Voltec-based elements within the game. It just sounds like they're doing a whole bunch of bug fixing regarding fire and fire benefits. In-game branding, Montreal. In April, the in-game branding team in the interior and exterior signage for Pyro Ruin Station continued to support the EU location team. Wow, look at this. That is cool. That looks absolutely amazing. Lighting. The lighting team progressed with core work on cave lighting, which looks fantastic, by the way, which will be added to the PU's new and existing caves. Progress continued on Ruin Station alongside other smaller tasks too. So that looks like it's Ruin Station. That's cool. We're almost finished, guys. Live Tools. Live Tools team progressed with the new design of the new Network Operation Center feature. They're currently involved in the continuous improvement of the tool, which aims to improve the best experience possible to users. The team also began rolling out a new version of the interior error handling pipeline. Narrative. The narrative team spent months closing on tasks, submitting numerous bug fixing to help get the new patch ready for release. They also continued to give items, clothing, and armor names and descriptions. I noticed there's a lot of stuff that still doesn't have that. So, yeah. Hopefully. With designs to improve salvage missions, they also supported initiatives to help newer players learn the game, which is obviously when it comes to that game experience, new player experience. Additionally, they began working on upcoming content, including the new package extraction, data heist, and consignment retrieval missions. We keep hearing a lot about that, so maybe a 320 thing. They also look at expanding the new air traffic control dialogue to support new gameplay, including new cargo features. Work continued on Pyro, with narrative helping with the consignment team developing lore for the system's initial contracts and how players can interact with the various outlaw groups. Additionally, they plan upcoming work to further develop the game's Xeno language. April also brought a bunch of new Galactopedia articles alongside the portfolio of exploiting the legal drug Willow. Online Services Montreal. In addition to bug fixes, the performance improvements, and update to the login flow code, the online service team completed work on changes to long-term persistence. So we really rely on LTP, or long-term persistence, for players to be able to transfer progression between releases. LTP had a complete rewrite for persistence energy streaming, as the old implementation had fundamental issues and would not fix within the concept of a full persistence. The new system monitors the global player inventory and simply creates, destroys LTP records for store in the store. Sounds like they're going through and just basically rewriting the system that controls persistence for entities. So, cool. Research and development. In April, the R&D team continues to focus on improvement in the temporal render mode for the atmospheric and volumetric clouds, which is what we're seeing in 3.19. The major obstacles to overcome are still occasionally noise and temporal artifacts. We still do have that in the distance, I've noticed it. And that's where it sort of like gets a little pixelated. And the result of the various view scenarios, as well as the upsampling of results under the persistence of a thin silhouette within the given frames. Additionally, improvements to cloud shaping were implemented and are currently in the prototyping stage with the art tech. The goal is to improve the global versus local read of clouds, as well as their volumetric look, along with the vehicle profile, while avoiding shaping artifacts. These changes should also help break up the tingling and overcoming certain shape issues during limited degrees of freedom when building a 3D volume from noise, a set of 2D textures, and the planetarization users of access them. Okay, whatever. 4 more to go. In April, the Systematic Services and Tool team progressed with the Service Beacon refactor. Thank you. And completed several bug fixes for Alpha 3.18.2. They also completed various shop optimizations and began prototyping mission markers for bounty hunting. They're currently preparing to work on virtual NPC services. The team planned out the next set of milestones for the Quantum Odin tool as well. Okay. We haven't heard much about Quantum for a while. I was wondering how that was going. Art tech animation. So, sounds like they're going back to working on Quantum, actually. They've planned out the next set of milestones for Quantum. Cool. In April, the tech animation team made significant progress on the head asset progressing. This involves developing a semi-automatic system that has not only reduces turnaround time, but also improves the asset quality. Okay. The team also continues with DNA integrations, collaborating closely with other teams to integrate their data within the rest of their codebase. Support also continued for the various feature teams. UI. In April, the UI art team improved several Squadron 42 features that may eventually make their way into the PU, including improved visuals for radial menus and various weapon screens. The UI tech team also worked on several bug fixes and performance improvements, and began work on the new interior map. That's big. Although I thought they were like further along with the... I know they've been working on the star map, but I do know also that this team, or this map is all integrated into one. So like, for example, you might start up, when you first bring up the map, you might bring like up a ship view, right? And then it'll zoom out to sort of like the planet view or the system view. And then it'll zoom out to like the galaxy, like the system view, and then it'll zoom out again to the system view. So it's all integrated. So maybe that's why they're working on that, but they've also been working on the star map. So yeah. VFX. Last month, VFX provided support for several props and interactable items, including new types of volatile cargo. That's what we need, things to go boom. They also progressed with the tasks of several locations, such as Lawville, various rock caves. Cleanup pass was also done on some older locations, which include tidying up the level layers and making sure placed particle effects were named correctly. Support for 2 new vehicles continued too. Alright guys, I know that was a long video, 45 minutes and all, but yeah, these reports are kind of important because it lets us know exactly what they've been working on. Some really big things in there. Obviously, the star map is obviously really, really important. The AI tech for like animals and stuff and bone structure is important because that's going to bring animals into the game. Obviously, the ships is cool. Persistent HABs and like cargo decks and stuff, and the cargo refactor. That's a big thing as well. So yeah, it's a lot of good stuff in this. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night. Enjoy yourself, and see you in the verse.